in 1958, the World Cup finals beckoned for John Charles. And it was Wales' finest international hour, really, with football. He'd said...
Well, they only played for an hour.
Well, I assume they played for more. But,
you can only assume.
Yes. They played 5 games in the finals, and they only lost one, which was to the eventual champions Brazil when Pelé scored. But they qualified through the group stages, but unfortunately Charles missed. I think it was the quarter-finals against Brazil. They missed them through injury, and they went down to Brazil. He scored 15 goals in 38 games for Wales, but as I say, he was usually used as a centre-back.
I mean, if you were a striker for Wales and you knew you had John Charles at the back, you'd be really hoping you took your chances, wouldn't you? You'd feel twice as bad if you missed a couple of sitters, you know?
Well, that's right. Yeah, in 1960, he scored 23 goals in 34 games for Juventus as they won the league and cup double. And Michael Parkinson, broadcaster Michael Parkinson, for any of our North American listeners, who would you compare Parky to? Like David Letterman? Maybe?
Yeah, probably something like that.
That's a depressing thought.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you know what I mean. But he said John Charles was the complete footballer. In Italy, they would play him up front until he scored, then switch him to centre-half to stop the other side scoring.
That's amazing. That is like
that seems to be the perfect all-rounder.
One-man team. That's class. That's brilliant.
Well, he was often described as a one-man team. He left Juventus, though, at the height of all this. It was quite surprising that he did. But he wanted to go back home. I think the wife was a bit homesick and all this kind of stuff, and Don Revie's Leeds came in for him with an offer, but unfortunately this was quite an unsuccessful period and it didn't last very long. And he was soon off to Italy once again, but he wasn't happy with the way he was expected to play for Leeds, because I mean, you've got to remember, this guy could play. He wasn't just a big battering ram. He was a great player, and he'd just been playing in a much more much more cultured style. Absolutely, James. So he's gone back to Don Revie's Leeds, and he said he didn't like how they were trying to scrap their way to the top of the league, and he said football is played with players moving into spaces, moving close to the man with the ball, and it is not played at breakneck speeds all the time. And he worried about his football at Leeds, and he just thought, I'm not getting into this, So he left there, and he went to play for Roma. He didn't do too badly at first, but he had got a few injuries, there was a few personal problems, and he just didn't like living in Rome. He didn't like southern Italy or middle Italy, he preferred northern Italy, that's where his heart was. So he went back to Cardiff City, where he finished his career. But to sort of kind of sum him up, people described him as a wonderful sight on the football field. He was huge, he was quick, he was strong, but he was agile as well. He was a world-class player. He was a gentleman. He played the game in the right spirit. And he was, until his dying day, he was still one of Juventus's favourite sons. And Nat Lofthouse was asked once, who's the best centre-half you've ever played against? And he said John Charles. In the same week, Billy Wright was asked, who's the greatest centre-forward you've ever faced? He said John Charles.
That's amazing.
And he was awarded a CB in 2001, and the West Stand of Ellen Road, Leeds Stadium, is called the John Charles Stand. Bobby Robson described him in... he did a foreword for Charles's autobiography, and Bobby Robson described him as incomparable and classed him among the all-time footballing greats with Pelé, Maradona and Best. And he also says that, and a lot of people say this, Charles is the only footballing great to be world-class in two different positions, two very different positions as well. Jimmy Greaves said, if I was picking my all-time great British team, without a doubt John Charles would be in it.
Twice.
Yeah. He was voted the greatest foreign player ever in Serie A.
That's amazing. That's a massive shout.
Yeah. Which is ahead of. Let me just give you a little short list here: Maradona, Platini, Van Basten, Zidane.
That's superb.
Which is absolutely incredible.
It speaks for itself. You can't argue with that.
No, absolutely not. And when he died, Leeds issued this statement. He said he was widely regarded as one of the greatest players the game of football has ever known. A powerfully built man, John was truly a gentle giant and was loved and admired by all who saw him play. And he's coming into the Dean Windass Hall of Fame.
This is one for his sort of centre-back exploits. Let's give him another one for his striking.
Good man.
It is incredible when you look back at what he was saying about sort of the way Leeds played, and what we did in the Herbert Chapman profile as well, where tactics weren't really an issue. It is incredible how little the sort of the British understand this game that they invented.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're right. I was still struggling to catch up in a way. I mean, the first time I heard about John Charles was when he died, which I think is sort of
2004.
Yeah, 2004. And I thought to myself, because is it fair to say he's not as well known as he really should
No,
be?
he shouldn't be.
Absolutely, yeah.
And maybe it's because he played a lot of his career overseas.
Well, some people say maybe it's a harsh thing to say, but maybe it's because he's Welsh.
Yeah, I hope.
You know,
not,
which is an absolute crime if that is the reason.
but we're doing our bit anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be elevated up to the echelons of fame now.
There's literally tens of more people around the world know who he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the show. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to email us, the email address is podcast@thefootballramble.com. And why not check out our website, thefootballramble.com. Luke, there's something going on there.
Yeah, well, you can still buy T-shirts, courtesy of Cult Zeros. It's all the details are on thefootballramble.com, so get involved.
Dean Windass Hall of Fame t-shirt.
Oh, yeah, sorry, the Dean Windass Hall of Fame T-shirt. Should have mentioned that. Yeah. Hopefully, John Charles will be up there by the time you hear this.
Absolutely.
Give yourself a nice Christmas present early.
Also, we'll have a blog, which we're calling RambleTube, which will contain video highlights of some of the stuff we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Marvellous. Say goodbye, Pete.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Lukey.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, James or Jim.
Goodbye.
We're all off to perfect our Maradona belly slide. Ta-ta.
It's like a hovercraft.
Stop arguing about age. People get old.
Yeah.
Not that quickly. It's only what?
2018, she'll be 92.
No, she won't.
Look it up. She's 83 now.
Is she really?
Yeah.
My giddy old.
Queen's 83.
Yeah, she's old.
Queen's 83.
Yeah, she's old.
Queen's 83.
Yeah.
Queen's 83.
Yeah.
83.